I'm Johnson Hood, and this is Spotlight On, the series that shines a light on the far-right creatures going bump in the night. Today, we've turned our spotlight on Richard Tice, the deputy leader of the far-right Reform Party, threatening to drag the UK back into the Hitler ages. And like many reformers, Richard started as a conservative, the gateway drug to reform crystal meth for those voters seeking a bigger high, or in this case, a bigger low. But where did his story begin? How did a man so willing to sacrifice his dignity get so far? Well, it comes as no surprise, it all began with great wealth and privilege. Richard attended the private Uppingham School, where each term costs £16,000. Unlike Reform leader Nigel Farage, Richard does not pretend to be a man of the people, and is freely admitted to being born with a silver spoon in his mouth, probably put there by his butler. And where other children might spend their summers at football or cricket camp, or shoplifting from Tesco's, Richard spent his time at Iwerne Camp, an evangelical Christian place, instilling in him the idea that the Bible is the ultimate authority. In particular, the camp focused on something called muscular Christianity, perhaps based in part because every statue of Christ on the cross is absolutely fucking ripped. Muscular Christianity is a movement that teaches discipline, self-sacrifice, and masculinity. Sorry girls, you suck. Iwerne Camp closed in 2020 because, yes you've guessed it, allegations of abuse. The chairman, John Smith, was accused of targeting 8 young boys, taking them into his shed and whacking them with a garden cane. It is estimated that these 8 boys received 14,000 lashes over a 3-year period. No one likes posh boys, but that seems a bit much. Later, camp leader Jonathan Fletcher was caught with his fingers in the kiddie jar, followed by camp leader David Fletcher, who was accused of sexual assault and harassment. While Iwerne closed down, the trust that ran them rebranded and opened other camps in the UK. So if you fancy camping this summer, I'd maybe stick with Butlins. Other than attending this camp, Richard is not associated with any of the goings-on. Like everyone who leaves education, Richard joined a multi-million-pound property company, the Sunley Group, which was founded by his grandfather. It's the kind of humble beginnings the average Reform voter can relate to. He was the Sunley Group CEO for 14 years and then went on to become CEO of other multi-million-pound companies. When Reform voters complained to him about their inability to heat their homes, Richard, in his experience of being vastly wealthy, is in the unique position not to give a shit. In 2019, Richard financed the founding of the Brexit Party designed around the sole intention of getting the UK to leave the EU, and it was a roaring success. Hand in hand with his fellow gammon Farage, who led Richard's party for him, they successfully persuaded the British public to commit economic suicide, the political equivalent of driving Great Britain to dignitas. 6 years on, Richard can congratulate himself on lowering the UK's GDP, lowering investment and productivity, creating new red tape burdens for businesses, and reducing the UK's status within the world, something he now blames on immigrants. Farage changed the name of Richard's party to Reform, and when he resigned in 2021, Richard was finally allowed to be leader of the party he effectively created. Desperate to be part of the political class, he stood for election in Havering and Redbridge, and came second to last. He stood again and finished 10th, and in December 2021, he stood again, receiving only 6.6% of the vote share. It wasn't until the 2024 general election, when Farage had returned like a bad case of strep and taken over the Reform Party once more, that Richard finally found a home as MP to Boston and Skegness with 37% of the vote. Richard has stated that he would not have been elected without Farage, and that he was delighted and thrilled to be replaced by him as leader. The same sentiments expressed by the kind of man who likes to see his wife ploughed by the neighbour. And now a quick word from our sponsors.
Unlock your future with Frappington Private School for the Wealthy. As Frappers, we prepare our learners for the real world, but not the real world. Your world, where the rich suffer no consequences. We boast a variety of subjects, including managing upper-class shame, pyramid schemes, how to cover up a drink driving charge, networking with warlords from countries you can't pronounce, and running the hotel chain inherited from parents who didn't love you. Our learners have 100% pass rate, because what's the point of being rich if you can fail? And if education isn't your thing, don't worry. We have a separate curriculum for students who just want to drink champagne, use racial slurs, and hunt foxes. Foxes are like the working class. They don't feel the pain of hot lead. Frappington is an inclusive educational experience. If money is an issue, you still have a place here. Simply provide proof of your lordship, viscountcy, or historical connection to the slave trade. We are the place to live, love, and laugh your dreams, and to avoid the hellscape you'll one day contribute to. Enroll today!
And now we rejoin Richard, a man in love with another man. Richard couldn't be more codependent than if he was Farage's intestinal worm. But there are subtle differences between the two men. While Farage hearts strongmen Putin and Trump, Richard favours Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, as if he doesn't have enough self-esteem to support one of the main players. Like Richard, DeSantis is anti-woke, having once introduced a bill called the Stop Wrongs to Our Kids and Employees Act, showing in desperate phrasing so the abbreviation of the bill reads Stop Woke. However, the abbreviation should also include the word ACT, making the bill's correct name Stop Wookie, which pissed Chewbacca off no end. Richard described DeSantis as a courageous, bold leader that doesn't muck about. Interestingly, DeSantis was running for president at the same time as Trump and was forced to stand down due to being shit. No wonder Richard likes him. Cuckold recognises Cuckold. During a press conference where Richard was outlining Reform's position on special educational needs and disability, he stated sensory accommodation for those with ADHD in schools had to stop, calling the practice insane. Unlike Farage, who probably would have doubled down and say they should wear dunce's caps too, Richard made a grovelling apology. It was the right thing to do, and that's why he did it 4 weeks after the event. If cringe was electricity, we could hook Richard up to the national grid and lower all our bills. This was never more evident than when he defended Farage after he was accused of being a teenage racist, an allegation made by 28 pupils and a teacher. Richard dismissed it as made-up twaddle, proving two things: that allegations of racism will not be taken seriously by Richard, and he is the kind of man who uses the word twaddle. Richard splits his time between Skegness, where he is supposed to help the people who voted for him, and being in Dubai with his girlfriend, Isabel Oakeshott, the journalist who claimed Prime Minister David Cameron did sex stuff with a pig's head. Richard had his sights set on number 11 Downing Street, believing he had what it took to be the Chancellor of the Exchequer, because of his background in business. The exact same rationale that got Trump elected, and the US economy driven off a cliff like the ending of Thelma and Louise. But what Farage giveth, he can also taketh away, and Farage named Robert Jenrick as the future Chancellor, a man who once ordered a detention centre for immigrant children to paint over the Disney characters on the walls, in case the children derived some level of comfort from them. For the morally bankrupt to succeed, they need only be surrounded by weak people, and Richard is that guy. He's been eating crumbs from the table for so long, he eats exclusively from a dustpan and brush. And there's no reason to think things will change once Farage gets his first taste of real power. Richard is a chump, being used by a bigger chump. he will forever be the mark to Farage's skid. Spotlight on Richard Tice was written by Sean Baines. It was performed by Sean and Joe Cooper. Please like and follow United State of News, please, for your weekly dose of insanity.